the FBI director says we can only query against data that we have collected, and we have not collected any data on them. So, end of story, we can collect all we want. There's not going to be anything found if there's nothing to find. Instead of improving refugee screening, the president has reduced screening criteria. Last year, he reduced the requirement, loosened the restrictions on refugees who were guilty of providing material support to terrorist groups by exempting those who had provided, quote, limited material support. Kenneth Blankus, the president of immigration adjudicators, that would be the judges as well as the lawyers and asylum officers and so on, said, we are letting terrorists into the United States right through the front door. According to him, the Obama administration is actively blocking efforts by ICE officers to protect Americans. Quote from Mr. Palankas, in fact, this administration has widened the loopholes that terrorists could use to gain entry to the U.S. through our asylum system. Applications for entry are rubber stamped, the result of rating agents by speed rather than discretion. We've become the visa clearinghouse of the world. Security, of course, is paramount, but there's something else that is important here. This harmonious, multicultural, universal nation we were promised is not quite coming into view, and we don't need a San Bernardino to be aware of that. Needless to say, large-scale immigration from Islamic countries is the ultimate challenge to the universal nation thesis. And this, to a large degree, is driven by the refugee program. The program is not its largest source, but is much more likely to bring in the uneducated and fundamentalists. So it's thus having an outsized impact on communities trying to absorb them. And in the early 90s, the refugee program was about zero Muslim. The blank sheet was here on the as an asylum seeker, not as a refugee. There was 0% refugees coming in the early 90s. By 9/11, it was up to about 45% Muslim, and today it's back to perhaps running close to 45% Muslim. The aggressive mosque planting campaign, which accompanies this immigration, is an indicator of how poorly assimilation is working. But it's not only the rejection of the assimilation model, but these mosques are largely built by foreign governments. Does it seem strange that we make such a big deal when a county government posts the Ten Commandments and the claim is made that this is trotted out as an egregious example of government sponsorship of religion? Yet the mosques are largely built by and sponsored and supported and built by by governments. By a government. Happens to be a foreign government, but is this not a state, church-state issue? Actually, apparently not. Actually, the program itself is one large church-state issue on many fronts, but you will never hear that. The refugee influx, and that I'm including the overall humanitarian influx of children, asylum seekers, trafficking victims, which is another very corrupt, are subject to corruption and already has been corrupted quite a bit, is providing constituencies for an expanding government and bigger social programs. And quite frankly, it's a constituency for the ethnic grievance industry as well. In fact, a kind of pernicious codependence has developed between the refugee industry and the welfare state. Government money has totally driven out private money as the source of the refugee program. And we will get more of the behavior we pay for. This, I think, is the crucial issue. There would be no problem if traditional charity was the basis of this program. But as it is, it's on a trajectory for expansion. This program has come to hometown America. I'm sure 10 years ago, I think Texas has been experiencing it more than other parts of the country, but probably 10 years ago, you never would have expected it even in Texas, I don't know. But it's come to hometown America, where it's increasingly visible, especially the entitlements, especially the demands. It's little understood, and assessment is long overdue. We might actually find a way to help more refugees. The question should not be whether we help, but how we help. There are plenty of other options, but for that conversation to begin, we must lift the curtain of myth which has protected the refugee industry from open discussion. Thank you.
Question raise your hand. Mike will bring you the microphone. We're going to set the screen over. You go ahead. Any questions?
Thank you, sir. Very informative lecture. Just want to clarify, you say Lamar Smith was one of our representatives who supported a tripling of...
No, he did not support it. Sorry. I meant to say he is very good on this, on refugee resettlement, and he always has been. There's been times when he voted, he was the single vote against an expansion. They're always expanding definitions, they're always opening it up to groups, and there have been times when Lamar Smith was the only vote in the House against like a silly expansion, silly egregious expansion. Yes? That is a good question. They are definitely, I'm sorry, I'll repeat the question. Why, the question I think is, why is it that the mosques do not sponsor refugees? Well, I think you will see that in the future. Right now there is one of the one of the contractors is called ECDC, it's the Ethiopian Council for Ethiopian Community for Development or something like that. There is an Ethiopian that has Islamic influence, and they do sponsor refugees, so there is some. But the mosques are not paying their own money. No, they're not. But neither the local churches. The local churches are not taking up a collection and supporting this program. It's all paid for by the taxpayer. So, but you're right.
Another question back here.
In regards to the, you said people overstaying their welcome, and I'm questioning about the data and so many people, everyone overstaying their welcome, refugees. How do you see this as far as the mark of the beast system? Because I see this being able to be implemented because, we can't keep track of everybody. So we have to bring the system in. So we have to bring the system in regards to, we've got an abundance of people, we can't keep track of them. What in regards to the mark of the beast do you think this could be done?
What in regards to what? I missed one part of the question. One of my ears.
The mark of the beast. Where do you see the collecting of data and all of these people and us not being able to control the amount of people that we have here? So we need to bring in a mark of the beast system.
What kind of visa?
Mark of the beast.
Identification.
I don't know.
Chicken.
In other words, we have to mark them. We have to mark everybody to control our borders. Well, I certainly hope not. We could do minimal. We aren't even doing minimal stuff to control our borders. We don't have to go that far. We could easily, like Roy was saying, about 500,000 people have not left, that came in recently and have not left. We could be easily tracking people when they come in, link, and send out notices and run them down when their time comes up and they haven't left. Because when they leave, they have to log out too. In effect, they log in and they log out. And we're not pursuing that. There's other ways without getting to over-identification. I do understand, we don't want everybody to be wearing an ID.
You stated that this is contributed to by taxpayers. Okay? When you contribute, for instance, to the Archbishop's appeal, does that go into the Catholic charities to that?
Honestly, and I've seen internal church documents to this effect, it generally goes to lobbying. Lobbying. It goes to lobbying for bigger programs. Exactly. Now, if they have any left over, yes, they'll probably do some real charity. But this program is nothing related to charity whatsoever. And I think that is a way that you can address them directly and just ask the why is it that, do you really care about refugees if all you care about is the money? As a matter of fact, I was told by a State Department contact of mine that after 9/11, they knocked the program offline for a little bit. And they said, well, we're going to start putting money overseas, where, by the way, the dollar goes at least 20 times farther. You can help 20 more people. Roy had mentioned that. It's not 12, it's at least 20. But they actively lobbied against putting money to overseas. They don't want money to go, they want money to go into their coffers. So I think that's a weak point of theirs. I think it's a crucial feature of the system that's making it so go wildly off the tracks.
Other than money, what is the objective of bringing all of the immigrants here?
Well, I have thought about that quite a bit, and I still don't have an answer. There are a few people, the globalists, but they're relatively few in number. They're not up there pulling the strings, George Soros, although George Soros does truly fund a lot of the organizations that are out there advocating for wider immigration and more refugee resettlement. That is true. There's a few people like him. It's momentum. It's just already up and going. It's hard to stop. It's jobs. Literally, they'll go to Congress and say, well, if they have in the past, if you cut this program, we'll lay off like thousands of workers. And it's flying under the radar. It's not been noticed by people. I think it will be noticed now. I do think it will be noticed more and more as it gets more quote diverse and as it's spread around more often as we see like the Babin bill.
Don, I've got one more question over here, and we'll close it up here. Shall I go ahead with your question?
I have a very soft voice, so I apologize. And I apologize not being able to stand and raise my hand, but I just got out of the hospital and I wanted to hear you tonight. I realize that you're not from the state of Texas, nor are you from San Antonio. And in this part of the country, we do have Catholic Charities, which is an organization highly praised by the majority of the people in certain parts of Texas. How much, when we talk about overstaying borders, which you're speaking of, and visas, is it not easier to even foster that more by having charities that don't report real numbers and things to you? In other words, Catholic Charities here can bring in anyone, particularly we have been bringing in, obviously, southern parts of America. And we're a benevolent city, state, country, the United States is as a whole. And I don't think people realize the difference between overstaying visas and
Well, once you've overstayed your visa, you are an undocumented alien. Once you've overstayed your visa. And by the way, as far as the bulk of illegal immigrants in this country, they say about 40% have simply overstayed their visa, so they are illegals. Now, the rest of your question? Okay.
Okay. I want to, first of all, thank you, Don, so much for coming tonight, all the way from Tennessee. Great presentation. Yes. We'll talk very quickly. I want to do two things. We talked about action. We're not just going to, we'll let you get out of here in just a minute, but I want to go over this bill. This is a model refugee resettlement bill. This is the talking points. We have the actual bill that we will put up online and that we will send out to everyone. And we'll be sending it to our representatives. Jeff Judson is here, one of our folks who are running for office against Joe Strauss, who's, we're very familiar with who Joe Strauss is. We appreciate Jeff Judson running.